All right, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Kamil Sarji with Gold Door Realty. Today we have Dave.
Dave Lubelczyk, or just Dave.
And what do you do, Dave?
So I work with people to stop saying someday and start living the life they want to live, usually through building their own business.
All right, awesome. Thanks for stopping by for the just 2 minutes. So the way this works is I have a timer here and I'm gonna ask just a bunch of random questions for 2 minutes. And then after that, we'll just go into the business, talking about the business. Okay. Okay. So if you saw a rabid dog that needs water to drink, would you give it water?
Probably not, because I don't think that's good for somebody with rabies, right?
I don't know. All right, so if you had to fill out a form where it asks for your name, phone number, email address, and address for a chance to win $10, would you do it? Would you fill it out?
No.
$100?
Maybe.
1,000?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. $50?
No.
25?
Definitely not.
10?
No.
Okay. Have you ever gotten angry at a client and broke a glass cup?
No.
Would you if you were mad?
No.
Oh. Have you ever built a catapult?
Yes, the dream catapult. That's what I call myself.
Nice. Would you ever put the rabid dog in the catapult?
No.
Okay, nice. That's good. What's your favorite hat and why?
The leather version of this one, there's a lot of sentimental value to it, and it's one I like to wear the most, but it gets very hot in the summer, so I have this mesh one when it gets warmer out.
Nice.
And I bought this one specifically because it looks like the other one.
Awesome. And let's see. So speaking of the form that you filled out, if you did fill it out for $1,000 and you got a phone call saying you have to go pick up your prize at a shady place, would you?
No.
All right. What'd you think?
It's interesting.
Crazy. It's wild. All these
I don't know where you came up with the
questions. You know, I just sit down sometimes and I do some research on the person and then I just come up with these questions.
Yeah.
So you do business consulting?
Business and life coach consulting. Cool. I've been a business coach and consultant for 22 years, but in the last year or so I've gotten more into helping people with their lives because, especially with solo entrepreneurs, they're very intertwined.
And would you say that as far as like helping someone reach their goals, how many don't end up actually doing the things that get them there?
Sadly, over the 20 years I've been working with people, most people don't do the things that they need to do to reach where they want to go.
Why? Psychologically, why do you think that is?
You know, we all self-sabotage ourselves. I don't know, sometimes it's fear of success, it's fear of failure. I think a lot of it comes down to we are following society's expectations and we focus on the money, which often doesn't, we think it's going to give us what we want in life, but it doesn't. There's so many other components to it, and really understanding how the money is just one resource. And so a lot of people get fixated on the money, which gets them into a scarcity mode, which gets them to start making bad decisions about their business and about their life. And so I think that if you really know where you want to go when you do the right actions every day, it's going to be tough, but it's going to happen.
What about the whole thing of like being afraid of success subconsciously?
The best way to get over that is to really have a clear vision of where you want to go and to have a plan of how to get there. Because if you commit to taking daily actions, you have to have the clarity. First piece is you have to have clarity. You have to know what you want. And surprisingly, a lot of people don't know. They're following the path that their guidance counselor told them when they were 17 years old and picking a college, or they listened to what their grandmother told them would be a good career, or they're just following society of he who has the most toys and money wins, and they don't really have clarity as to, is that going to make me happy? And so you see so many ads out there for business coaches and consultants make 6 figures, $100,000, and I posted a while back, is that enough? Is it too much? And you really don't know until you have that clarity of what do you want your life to look like.
Yeah.
And by having that clarity, then you can start saying, okay, this is what I want my life to look like. I'm going to commit to doing the things I need to do to make sure that I get to that life I want to have. And then you need some mechanism, whether it be a coach like myself or whether it be a business partner or a life partner that's kind of holding you accountable to it, because we really stink at holding ourselves accountable to what we do. I find myself, if I follow my planners and worksheets that I make for my clients and I have a coach or somebody that I'm working with, I stay right on track. But if I'm left to my own devices, I start drifting, and you don't actually succeed. And so having those 3 core components of clarity, what do you want, commitment to it, and then accountability to make sure that you're getting up every day and taking action. And sometimes those actions don't work. You might have an idea of how to sell or how to catch people's attention through marketing, and they may not work. But failure is the path to success. Then you say, well, why didn't it work? Am I targeting the wrong person? Am I in the wrong industry? Is this business not really what I thought it was going to be for giving me the freedom I want? All of those kinds of things. And if you look at that trajectory, you can still get to your destination of the type of life you want. And that's why I have so many people focus on their life and not their business. Because when you focus on your life, then you can continuously tweak and modify the business to fit that life.
So take me through your process. If you get someone new, let's say a new agent that wants to quit their job and become full-time real estate agent.
Well, first of all, don't quit your job. It's a bad idea. Just flatting out quit on your job. And I did it 22 years ago, so I can tell you, do not quit your job without a plan. That's the first thing.
Unless you sell 100,000 a month, then you can.
Well, that's not just quitting their job. They've already put stuff in place. They're making a transition, and that's the thing. If you're in a corporate job and you're trying to make a transition, you need just that, a transition plan. You need to understand that, okay, when I hit these certain milestones, that's when I can quit and go full time or whatever the case may be. Or I need to build up a certain amount of, savings, a nest egg piece to tie me over to get there.
So you'll be like, all right, you have a full-time job, that's great. Hold on, let's come up with a plan for you to transition.
Or to switch. I've had some clients that have switched to a lesser career, something that still brings in money, but gives them the freedom to build, a real estate agent business, or to build that restaurant that they want to open, or whatever the case may be. So it doesn't necessarily have to be stay in the job you were in, but it may be some kind of transition plan. And that's really, and it's custom to everybody. There's a lot of people out there that are like, here's my recipe for success. And what I found is that it works for a few people, but not a lot of people.
Have you had, I'm just doing a random, have you ever had a person who's like, I want to be a ballerina so bad, and I want to quit my day job, and you help them become a ballerina, and as they're going through it, they're like, geez, my toes hurt, and this is so abusive, I don't want to do this anymore, and they find another path. Have you ever been into that?
I found a client, I didn't help her to make the first, she worked with
ballerina?
Somebody, she wasn't a ballerina, she was actually wanted to do property management, or that's what she thought she wanted, and she worked with a person to get out of her corporate job, and she bought a property management franchise. And she was 4 months into it and hated it.
Property management is not
right. Well, here's the kicker. She wanted to have her nights and weekends free. She wanted to work 4 days a week. You don't get into property management. But for whatever reason, her and the consultant that worked with her said that this was the best thing for her.
So as far as property management, for a landlord or owner, the worst thing to get is a phone call in the middle of the night. Pipes are burst, so that's why they hire a property manager to take that stress.
Exactly.
So
this person I just actually helped transition back into, and she's actually in the process of interviewing for a few jobs right now, but she's transitioning back into corporate, and she may stay there, she may do something down the line, but she made a lot of mistakes over the past 3 or 4 years, and spent a lot of money on a franchise that she had to then sell off, and lost money on it and stuff. So if you don't really know what you want out of life, and I think that was the biggest component of it, is the person that they work with she worked with to find the franchise just asked her things about what she wanted from a business. She didn't ask, what do you want your life to look like? And by not knowing what you wanted your life to look like, she ended up in a business that was 24/7 call.
So at what point did you come into this picture?
I came in probably about 6 months into owning it. She was already burnt out and frustrated.
Oh my God.
And she was only open for about a year and a half. And
So you come in and you say, yeah, you don't want to do this.
well, no,
not that way,
Well, because originally we didn't know that was the problem. She was just like, I'm not making the money I want. I'm doing this, so that was a marketing issue, and throughout my career, that's always been a lot of what I've done is getting to the root of what's really going on here. And so I think that's the impetus for doing this. Let's figure out what you really want in life is, when you get to the heart of what you want or what the real issue is. Because sometimes we don't know what the real issue is. We just know we're not happy. And then you start peeling away the layers, and then all of a sudden you realize, wait, I built a business I didn't want to build, And had I eventually worked with her earlier, we might have been able to pivot it to stay in the same industry. Maybe she would have been a real estate agent, or she would have done something different that would have maybe given her more flexibility. But that's the thing. A lot of people don't really think about the business that they were going to start. Does it actually give me the two main things you want to have the life you want, which is enough money and enough freedom in every season and chapter of your life that you want to do stuff?
For me, it's I've been in like IT all my life, and the reason I wanted IT is I love helping people. Mm-hmm. I love solving problems. The way my mind works, I simplify the way things happen. But I did have the issues that my computer's blown up and I need this for a project like all this like crazy stuff. But what was missing in my life that it's been in my family forever, which is negotiating. Mm-hmm. I love negotiating and leadership. I love being a leader and giving my all to my people and help them become successful. There's nothing more fulfilling. So I've never been happier in my life than I am today, transitioning from the IT mm-hmm. world to real estate. And the reason I got into real estate is because real estate investing, and I was in it for a while, and I'm like, all right, yeah, this makes sense to go this way. So,
and if it gives you the freedom and the money that you want at any given time. And I'm not saying, like, everybody talks about work-life balance. There are weeks and months and maybe even years that you're busting your butt, especially when you're getting started with a new business. Mm. But you have to really understand that at some point you need to be able to step off that treadmill. And it may only be for a few months, or maybe for a year. It may be only to make sure that you have a certain number of vacation days each year. It may be that you just want to be able to knock off every once in a while and go see your kid play soccer. And that's the other thing, is everybody's definition of success is their own personal one. And I think we forget that. I've met people that, it's all about coaching their kids cheerleading or their kids soccer or being a scout leader or taking their kids. I have one gentleman that I work with who it's all about, he loves to hunt and fish, and he loves hunting and fishing with his kids, and he's building a business right now, and he truly is building it around his love of hunting and fishing. And it has nothing to do with hunting and fishing, but he's built in time. His goal is to buy these cabins all over the country that his employees can go and hunt and fish in, and use as like a retreat for themselves to get away. And even if they don't hunt and fish, they get to go out in the woods. So, but that's his definition of success. And we all need to really look at it and go, well, what's important to us? And money is a factor, but money isn't the metric. Money is a resource to give you the life you want.
Do you get people who are stressed out, like the person you just mentioned, and they're just overwhelmed? They're like spending 13, 14 hours a day running their business or working and not getting to where they want to be. You get that?
Yeah, everybody's that. Well, it's surprising how many people in society are living on that treadmill. I do post a lot about, taking a step back and living the life you want. I get so many of my friends from high school and grammar school and colleagues from being in the entrepreneurial world, and they're like, oh my God, that's so me, and it's sad that we don't build in that freedom and that time to just do the things that we want to do. And that's one of my big things. I say I'm on a quest to cure someday-itis, we all say someday when the big thing happens, I get to. And my thing is why not start now? Why not start little, small, incremental ways of freeing up your time or earning a little bit more money or doing a little bit different things a little bit differently so that you are able to be at your kid's soccer game or, tour Europe. I had one client who wanted to hike the Appalachian Trail and has a business they can't walk away from. So they're going to do it in small pieces, which is okay, but they want to just take like months off and just hike in the woods along the Appalachian Trail. And it's kind of sad that had they built their business a little bit differently, and now to retrofit it is so much more difficult than if they had started with somebody like me in the beginning and planned that out. But you have to know what you want and look at, okay, if I'm gonna do that, I need 6 months. I need a year where I, get on a cruise around the world. And who's gonna run my business when I do that? Well, do you have a management team in place? I have a colleague, he runs a multi-million-dollar roofing company, and he works 4 hours a month. He literally is in on 4 management meetings. He has a whole staff that runs the entire company for him.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it took him a while when he set that.
What's he do for the rest of his time?
He has a podcast. He's a motivational speaker. He's working on a whole nother coaching thing for marketing your trades business.
Wow.
He's into a lot of different things, and he's the kind of guy that it doesn't just sit still, but he has the freedom to sit still if he wants, And so, but he said, I'm letting them run it, and that's the best thing that ever happened to me. He does yoga on the beach with his wife. He plays with his kids, but he also, is making an impact and doing other things in the world too.
That's great. Yeah, it's awesome to just live life and be able to enjoy it.
But that didn't just come overnight. He had the plan, and that's the key, is having that clarity, that plan, that destination that you want your life to be, and then building everything around that.
So as far as your clients, well, first thing, what types of clients are you looking for or that you work with?
Ideally, they're people who have yet to start a business but are thinking about starting a business. Usually that means they're a corporate person, usually middle to upper management, and that's usually the people that I tend to work with. I want to get them before they leave, like I said, so we can build a transition plan, and it might be staying where they are for a little while, or it could be, transition. I've worked with people that drove Lyft for a while as a little bit of added income because they didn't have quite enough nest egg or whatever to do it. But yeah, it tends to be people that are fried, And it's funny because everybody's like, oh, well, that's got to be somebody in their 40s or 50s. And I'm like, no, I've met people that are 25 that are just, I already hate what I'm doing and I want to do something different. So it's not an age, it's more of a mindset. Usually they have some big dreams for their lives, and they also have kind of something they want to do as a business. It also tends to be people who the business they want to start is a lifestyle business. It's focused around them. They're the product. So like a real estate agent, a graphic designer, a coach, somebody that it's not a huge, like they're not going to sell it to Google someday. They're not going to get investors, that kind of stuff.
It's cool that you're able to actually pinpoint who your clients are. So when did you find this passion to start this business, and how? Well,
my passion to start was 22 years ago when I said enough in my own corporate, and I went into branding and marketing and then business consulting and the likes of it. During the pandemic, I got into doing group coaching with a lot of solopreneurs that were worried, as we all were, that how am I going to keep my business afloat? And from that, I started to see this need because I saw so many people that they either had a lot of freedom and not enough money to do the things they wanted to do, or a lot of money and not a lot of freedom. And so I said, okay, there's got to be a better way. And then, I don't know, about a year and a half, 2 years ago now, I started to say, I'm kind of tired after 20 years of fixing after people did it wrong. Like I said, the woman that was doing the property management, I got her after she had already made a couple of mistakes. And I said, wouldn't it be easier if you started with the person before they walked out the door? So I started really looking at what would that look like. I built a program around it, but it's very custom to the person. And that was the other big thing, that as I started prototyping this and doing it with a few people, I realized that it has to be very custom tailored to you. It's not a program that I can do a group mastermind with. It's not a program that I can give you a set of worksheets or set 12 steps to success. It's very highly personalized, and it's around what you want and how we build what you need. So yeah. Nice.
So you found that passion being in there and saying, that's it, there has to be a better way. I'm getting out of here.
I always have been there's another way of doing this kind of a guy.
All right, so what would you say percentage of men versus women that you coach? I know you said the age. What about the men and women?
I tend to coach more women. Most of my clients over the years have been women.
What would you say percentage?
I would say probably about 80% of my clients over the years have been women. Women-owned businesses, women businesses.
So we got 80% women, 10% men, and 10% aliens?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think you would help aliens?
I can help anyone. But yeah, no, women tend to be more reflective and tend to be more proactive, not to stereotype.
You're saying men are stubborn?
Yeah, men are stubborn and think they know everything. Yeah, but not to stereotype. But I get to say that because I'm one of them, right?
Right. So if you're helping a real estate agent, because going back to that, I have an agent who, she puts a lot of hours in and super stressed, and I'm like, all right, take a step back, dedicate some hours to do just the income producing activities, and then enjoy your family and enjoy what you're doing in real estate. Remember, why you got into it.
Yeah.
And because I think people just get into the, oh my God, I gotta make money, I gotta do this and this, and then they eventually hate what they're doing versus enjoying and having fun and laughing at what they're doing. I have so much fun, again, going back to that, because I just enjoy what I do. I love talking to people. I love understanding and negotiating and looking at different homes and coaching agents. So as far as that, how would you, you would meet with people like that and help them?
And stop focusing on money, I would be the first message. We all need money to live, and you need to understand the resources that you need of freedom and money, but it's just that, understanding it, not getting fixated on it, because when you get so focused on just generating money, that's when you start getting scarcity mindset, you start, getting stressed, to really understand the things that create relationships and create opportunity, and to keep working on those activities. Usually if you create good relationships and you look for opportunities, the money follows.
Have you had a client that came in and you started helping and then you're like, I can't help you, you have to...
Yeah, I try to vet them early. I have a couple of exercises that I do with them. I have one that's kind of a free, we just chat and see if they're just of the right mindset. But then I have a couple of preliminary, what I call the launch pad exercises, sort of like NASA. We do some system checks. Where's your mindset on this, and and so I can usually tell whether my program is going to be good for them and whether they're going to, and also to really, is building a life important to them. The big one is if somebody comes in and they're like, I've got $1 million idea, I'm like, I'm not your guy. And I know people who work with people who have $1 million ideas and want to be the next Google or whatever, and I can pass you off to them. But for me, it's really vetting people early on. I've had a few that we parted ways later, but most people, if because it's so custom to them, we're building it for what they need. So as long as they're willing to be committed to it and hold to the accountability. Accountability isn't like a job performance. I always say to people, we all think about, our end of the year review or our quarterly review, and did we do what we did? That's not what accountability is. Accountability is looking at, what was I trying to accomplish this week? Did I, first off, do it? Did I actually make that social media post or make those phone calls or whatever the case may be? But then if you didn't, or if you did and it didn't work, to start asking why. And that's where the real accountability comes in.
When do you get to a point where this is your goal, they don't do it? This is your goal, they don't do it. How many times until you say, you know what, maybe?
Well, we just keep talking about why. We keep trying to peel back the layers and go, well,
Does that happen a lot? Like four times, three, 4, 5?
Yeah, it can happen. People just...
Well, what's blocking them?
It's everything. It's imposter syndrome. It's fear of failure. It's fear of success. It's fear, all those things I said in the beginning.
So you got to pull that out.
You got to pull that back. And then sometimes what I'll do is I'll call in some of my colleagues who do mindset work. What is the blockage here? Why, I'll refer them on to somebody like Galen Apt who does, envision your success, that kind of stuff. Or, I can't remember what her thing is, but, somebody like that, they'll work on what's the blockage here, and maybe they take a hiatus from working with me and work with somebody like that, So, yeah.
Wow, if we were all if all humans were confident, didn't have any blocks, imagine this world.
Yeah.
Where would we be? Loving planet, you think? Or
Maybe.
Less wars?
More
chill.
We'll be enjoying life more.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot.
Yep.
We're still idiots, if you know that. Humans are super, super dumb. All right, cool. So I was asking about the reason why, as far as you letting someone go, not thinking it's a good fit, because they're sitting with you, kind of interviewing you, and you're interviewing them because you're going to work together and it's going to be close. So that's pretty much what's happening.
But there's always somebody for them. I have never met somebody that wasn't a good fit for me, but I didn't have someone in my Rolodex that could help. And that's the key. Especially when you're working with people who are coaches and consultants, you need to find the one that's right for you. And the one that's got the program that's going to get you where you want, where your objectives and goals are going to be met by what that person is. So like I said, I don't work with the person that wants to be a millionaire. Will I help somebody earn $1 million if they need to get the life they want? Yeah. But if they're focused on just the dollars, then there's other coaches that are much better.
Different styles.
Yeah, better suited for that.
Are you the type that cracks the whip?
I'm brutally honest. I wouldn't say crack the whip.
Have you made people cry?
I have made people cry, yeah.
It's deep, man. That's
cry
deep.
in both ways. Cry breakthrough cry, happiness cry.
That's awesome. That's a great feeling. I mean, not that they're crying, but great feeling because you're like, yes, let it out.
Yeah.
Find yourself.
There's a lot of emotion to what we're doing, and we're so tied to our business, and that's why I focus on the life and the business, because it's all one, and so yeah.
Wow, Dave, good stuff, man. We talked about some good things here.
Yeah, that's cool. Thanks for having me.
What'd you think of the show and
I
this
liked
whole
it.
thing?
The questions were fun, thought-provoking.
Yeah, I'd love to have you back someday. We talk about another topic, but thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for having me, man.